economies and global social interactions slowed on our planet temporarily.
Yes.
And when we get back up to speed or increase our speed again, I would love to see things move towards green utopia. We've talked about that a little bit before. And I'm wondering if you can expand on how we might head in a greener direction for a happy, healthy, green planet for all beings.
Well, it will require the activities and behaviors that are known as restoration of the planet. This is something, obviously, that each individual has to decide for themselves to become engaged and involved in order to create the restoration that will bring back the ecological systems that will allow for more balance upon your world. So it's simply a matter of making the choice to become more engaged physically in these activities.
I love that the current environment has provided demonstrations of how that can happen with the clean air and everything that we've had. And thank you so much for
it. Can, and you can also understand that a part of the reason why the situation is happening the way it is because certain ecological systems have been destroyed.
Yes, yes. And so I'm very much appreciating all of that's been pointed out to us with that. Yes. And I guess I'm going to bring this topic up next, and that is the seeing of the positive side in the midst of this. I know that I've been very fortunate to be in the positive side, and I think this has to do with why maybe we are coming together here in this eye of the needle conversation. Yes. And I have written on my whiteboard over there, seeing the positive side, positive goggles, game on. And I would like to be able to share or have us share that it's okay to feel good regardless of what the circumstance looks like.
Well, of course, and that's what we have always said to you. Regardless of the circumstance, remain in a positive state. Otherwise, you cannot receive the benefit from what's going on. One of the positive ways of looking, for example, at the sequestering and isolation and social distancing is to look at it from a kind of monastic point of view, where you have sequestered yourself in a way where you have the opportunity to spend time investigating your inner world and letting go of those belief systems and cleaning house of those things that no longer serve you, so that when you pass through the eye of the needle, it will be more effortless and you will come out of the other side in a more accelerated and streamlined way. So, of course, take advantage in any way you can that is positive of whatever circumstances are going on. Otherwise, you cannot experience the benefit of such.
Yes, thank you. And I'm really enjoying that, and I'm really having a fun time holding that place of being happy and joyful regardless.
Yes.
And staying in that place. And I love the idea of those of us, and I think there are probably many that are on the leading edge of that, and that helps everybody so much, those that are wanting to reach towards feeling good. And so I just wanted to share that.
All right, but it is as simple as making a decision and making a choice. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And then the other question I have, it's very pointed to the circumstance of now here on this planet. And I'm curious, what is the purpose of viruses?
Well, there are many. But again, it is showing you as a balancing mechanism when your world is out of balance, for one thing. It forces you to go into a state of withdrawal, of internal investigation. It shows you when you have destroyed the barriers that keep them in place when the world is balanced. It is an indication of imbalance in your society, in your world, for one thing. It's not the only thing, but right now, that's the main thing that it's showing you. The fact that it is engaging all of you to the degree that it is shows you that you have created an imbalance in your world to this degree where every single individual is affected. And you have to come together as different individuals in a unified way to create a restoration of the balance and the energy, not only through energy and consciousness, but through the physical behaviors and actions that you decide to take.
So that would be true for pointing out the imbalance or the contrast, whether it's for society or individuals. I really
Yes, of course.
That explanation.
Yes. Does that serve you?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Hi, Bashar.
And hey, you, good day.
Okay, I just have a few questions, and
Yes.
first wanted to share with you about what I'm really excited about.
Yes.
So I've been working with this teacher who is all about energy development, and he's created this whole perspective and understanding in not only how to develop certain energy structures, but also to actually give you access to developing it on your own.
All right. So that is your permission slip of choice at the moment.
Yes. So I am just, like I said, very excited, so grateful for this time. And then the only thing that I kind of grapple with sometimes is like, you know how sometimes I feel like, am I being selfish or self-absorbed just to be in my own world, just being so happy while, while collectively it may not be so for everybody?
Well, are you doing anything about applying what you're learning in the outer world through your behaviors, your actions, your choices? Other than just absorbing information, are you applying any of the information outwardly in any way, shape, or form that might allow you to act as a living example that other people can see, so that perhaps they know that there might be other options they can choose for themselves as well? Yes or no?
So I'm applying it and I'm sharing it with the people that I live with, but I'm not really going out and telling everybody.
Well, I'm not saying you have to actually specifically tell them about that permission slip, although that's one way. What I'm saying is it built into your behavior to follow your joy in following the formula without insistence or assumption and remaining in a positive state, so that whatever it is you are doing by acting on your joy simply becomes evident to other people, so that they can see in you a living example that they can make those kinds of positive choices for themselves as well.
Yes.
All right. Then what else do you need to do? What else can you do?
I mean, I guess it's always like, am I supposed to be providing something for the community or, the collective in some way?
Does it excite you to do that?
Not always, no. Sometimes.
Are there some ways in which it excites you to do that?
Yes.
Then those are the things to do.
Okay.
And that will be sufficient. And always remember that no matter what you share and no matter which way you share it, no matter what kind of an example you are, that there might be other opportunities and options for people to choose. What they choose to do with that information or that observation is absolutely none of your business. And that's always as far as you can help anyway.
Okay,
Does that take a weight off your shoulders?
It does.
All right.
Okay.
Just be yourself as best you can. Do the things that give you joy, and you will be a living example to others, whether you know it or not.
Thanks, Bashar. So then that's, like I said, it takes the weight off my shoulders. But then I guess my other question is like,
yes,
how there could be multiple realities happening at once?
Well, there are.
There are, right? So at the end of the day, though,
yes.
Is there such thing as like an inherent truth, or is it really just like multiple realities that you choose to align with or not?
The inherent truth is that all truths are true when you believe them to be. That's the truth. What we give you as the 5 laws is a basic description of the structure of existence, and those never change. If you want to call that an inherent underlying truth, you can. You exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. You can change your form, but you can't cease to exist. That's your natural state. That's your natural quality, is existence. Everything is here and now. There's nothing you can do to change that. The one is the all are the one. There's nothing you can do to change that. What you put out is what you get back. There's nothing you can do to change that. Everything changes, and there's nothing you can do to change that. The only things that don't change are the laws. That's a description of the structure of existence. So if you want to call that an underlying, fundamental, foundational template truth, you can. But everything else is your variation, your perspective, and your experience of that underlying structure. The underlying structure never changes. What changes is your perspective and experience of it, and that's how creation expands, is your unique perspective and experience of the structure that never changes. Your relationship to it and your expression of it is what expands creation.
Got it. So, okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. So then it's like, you know how like there could be multiple perspectives or explanations about even what's happening right now?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Everything is a neutral experience, a neutral set of props that can serve double duty. You can get a completely different experience out of the very same circumstance than someone else is getting because of what you put into it and what perspective you have and what relationship you have to it. That's why the fourth part of the formula is so crucial. Remain in a positive state no matter what's happening, and you will always get the benefit, no matter how it looks, no matter how it was created, no matter what anyone else's opinion or experience is of it. You will get the effect based on the vibrational state you choose to be in relation to it. What you put out is what you get back. It's not built into the experience. It's not built into the prop. The circumstance doesn't have built-in meaning. It's just a situation. It's just a neutral set of props. The way you experience it is utterly determined by the vibrational state that you choose to experience it from.
Got it.
Anything else?
Then my other question is this year going to get like, is this just the beginning of the storm? Is it like, are you allowed to tell us, is it going to get?
Right now you are passing through what we have called the eye of the needle. And as long as you have been experiencing this for the last 3 to 3.5 months, you will continue to experience on the other side of this needle another 3 to 3.5 months. Things can accelerate after that. Things might get more chaotic here and there in different ways, but it all determines by what you take through the eye of the needle with you. The eye of the needle as a concentrated and collapsed passageway prevents you from bringing through things that are completely irrelevant for you. And if you use it that way and strip away all the fear-based beliefs and leave them behind on this side of the passage, then you will move through the eye of the needle in a more effortless way and come out the other side in a more accelerated, more positive way that will allow you to experience acceleration from that point forward. Other people may experience a deceleration if they are resistant to letting go of those things that anchor them to the past instead of letting the future self guide them through the eye.
Awesome. I do have been experiencing that for sure.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, one last question.
Yes.
Bashar, do you know what is happening like energetically when somebody is quote unquote empathic? And is there...
They are matching a frequency of another and operating on a similar wavelength so that they're having the same thoughts and feelings at the same time. You never read anyone else's mind. You never read anyone else's energy per se in the way that you classically mean that. But you are having your own thoughts and own feelings that are mirroring what someone else is doing because you're operating on a similar wavelength and therefore having a similar experience. Therefore, you know what they're feeling and know what they're thinking because that's what you're thinking and feeling too by operating in the same vibrational frequency. So it's mirroring like tuning fork.
Mirroring, right? But Bashar, I noticed with me, like sometimes I'll be tuning into somebody else and matching their vibration, and then it's almost like I take it on and I can't shake back to my normal.
That's a belief system.
It's a belief system? Okay.
Totally.
So just like, I just have to
change your belief about what it is you're able to do when you mirror those things. Get what you need out of it, and then realize that you can still go into whatever state you need to be in to utilize the information you've learned in a way that works for you. You don't have to stay in a state that doesn't work for you, that may work for them.
Got it.
All right?
Bashar, this is one of my favorite things is to interact with you. So thank you so much.
It is also one of our favorite things to interact with all of you, which is why we do it. So thank you for the co-creation, our unconditional love to you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Bashar. Thank you for your presence today.
It is our passion and our pleasure as always.
Thank you. The last 3 months for me, it's as if I have arrived at a new train station.
Yes.
And the train station, as you have put, has been going in different directions. But this particular train station seems very chaotic, lots of trains, a lot more intensity.
Yes.
And on some trains, I see going down on the low end, human suffering and food shortages and things like this.
You are being very perceptive, and this is why this is a companion piece to the transmission called The Eye of the Storm,
Yes.
in which we invited you all to stay calm in the center, because what's happening now is you are at the train station called the Eye of the Needle. And this is a very narrow passage that many of you are now going to pass through, but the only way to do it effortlessly is to strip yourselves of more and more of the negative and fear-based belief systems so that when you emerge on the other side of this passage, you can accelerate more towards the idea of the reality you prefer. But on the other side, many people may decelerate and not go toward the reality that would necessarily be the one representative of the highest joy. So this is an extremely crucial pivot point in this passage through the eye of the needle that will determine many things you will experience on the other side of this eye. So you are perceptive in understanding the chaos that surrounds this particular pivot point at this time and how crucial and important that it is.
Over the last 3 months, I've had many, many miracles that I could not have even imagined.
Yes.
Particularly around financial things happening.
All right.
That have uplifted me and prepared me for this time of a downturn, a financial downturn in the economy. As a matter of fact, some things have happened where even now I'm still, my business is still going fine.
All right.
To my surprise.
Well, don't be too surprised because, again, you have been willing to relax somewhat the idea of your definitions of abundance so that you can allow all forms of it or more forms of it to work for you rather than just the monetary representation. This will always be the purpose of the idea of sequestering yourselves in this way at this time through the isolation and social distancing is to go more deeply within so that you can divest yourself of the things that don't work for you so you can move forward in a more accelerated and effortless way. That's what this is all for. So congratulations on riding that particular frequency wave.
Thank you. I still, and even in the face of huge miracles for me,
yes,
I still have anxiety and doubt and fear.
Why?
Well, I was examining this and I noticed that one condition that I usually set up my magic to work is I have to put myself in a position of need. I can't be in a position of preference or want.
But need is not desperation. Need is simply an alignment with the basic needs of life, as we have discussed. It's not about the wants. It is about the needs, but don't translate or define need as desperation, not as needy. It's basic need, and that's fine. That's an acceptant, open state of being willing to receive what you need. Watch your definition. It is more important now than ever before to be precise about your definitions of those terminologies. Need is not neediness. Yes. Need is open to receiving the basic needs of life, which if you receive them, will fulfill you.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
And I can see from what you just told me also that part of my misbelief, if you would put it that way, I project onto situations that aren't life and death, but I perceive them as such, so it creates a sense of anxiety.
Yes, well, you will always perceive them that way if you're coming from the desperation side of neediness, rather than the understanding of what basic needs are. simply as the fulfillment of everything that is relevant for you in life.
Yes.
And that's all there is to it.
A few times I've made a conscious choice of setting aside that desperation.
All right.
And it's been fine. It turned out fine.
Exactly. So why not continue to allow it to? You have to deal with the belief within you that, oh, this is too good to be true. It can't possibly continue.
Right.
Of course it can, because it's not continuing. It's only existing in the now. Therefore, it's not about having to wonder or worry whether it will continue. That's a space-time perspective. If you're always in the now, it will always be here, because it exists in the now just like you do. It doesn't have to be a situation of experiencing continuation in the way that you mean it, because you're also giving that a negative edge. Things that have to continue might not be able to continue.
Right.
Therefore, you're struggling with this paradoxical conundrum based on the idea that your perspective is one about having to continue instead of simply everything that I need is here and now, where I am. So no continuance per se is required in the way you've been structuring it. Of course, you will experience it in the next moment that you create, in the next and the next and the next, because you're always in the now moment, but just from a different point of view. And that pervades, that ability and what you need pervades all the points of view of the now moment. And that's what appears to be continuance from a space-time continuity perspective, but don't focus on the idea of the continuance. It's simply focusing in the now so that you can see and feel and experience the pervasiveness of what you need in the now. Just let time and space take care of itself in terms of creating the illusion of continuance.
What about the guilt that I feel sometimes when I see outside of myself, friends, or even the larger world suffering, yet I'm doing well?
So you don't deserve it, I guess. In your own mind.
I guess.
You just can't believe that little old you actually deserves to have this experience. But don't you understand that by allowing yourself to have this experience, then in the actions you take, you become a living example so that other people can see in you an option that they might then realize is available to them too? If you're guilty about it, you don't shine. And if you don't shine, others can't see that what it is you're giving off might actually be possible for them. You become a dark hole that they see no respite from. So if you refuse to shine because you believe you don't deserve it, then you're not giving other people the opportunity to see in you as an example that they could choose to shine too. Does that help?
It does. It's resonance and reflective.
Yes. Yes. So being guilty means, well, I guess I shouldn't shine, and therefore I'm taking away from others the ability to know that shining is possible. That, if you're going to regret anything or feel guilty about anything, which I'm not saying you have to, that would be the thing to be guilty about, is not shining. Yeah. Therefore, the paradox is that to be guilty creates the situation you actually should be guilty about.
Yes.
Not shining. So don't be guilty so you can shine. And if you shine, you'll have nothing to be guilty about, because you will be serving others by shining and letting them know there's another option other than what they have already been experiencing, which is the lack of their own shining. Yes.
And I won't have reflected back to me a sense of jealousy or...
You might. I'm not saying that those people may not project their own issues upon you, but again, remember, what difference does it make what they do? Because you're not basing your state on any outside conditions, are you?
No.
Thank you. So who cares if some people are jealous or project negative ideas upon you? That's their issue. And by being in the state that you need to be in, you will recognize that it's their issue and not yours. Unless, of course, you feel like being convinced that it's your issue. But you're the one creating that state then for yourself again, by being convinced that they're right about you. Oh yeah, you should be guilty about this. Oh yeah. Why? Make sense?
Makes sense, yes.
All right. Does that help?
That helps tremendously. Thank you.
Anything else?
Regarding the COVID virus, when we hear reports that X amount of cases are reported, can you tell me how many actual, like if one is reported, is it actually like 3 or 4 that actually have it in general?
It can be as high as a factor of 10 times what is reported.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bashar.
It is, once again, our deepest passion and pleasure to interact with each and every one and all of you. We thank you for the co-creation, our unconditional love to you all. Good day.
Good day.
Have misunderstood the actual meaning of that word. It is an ancient Sanskrit word, but most people on your planet have come to think of it as some sort of retribution or punishment or comeuppance or just desserts, so to speak. Someone might do something to you that you feel hurt you, and then maybe later something happens to them that they don't find pleasant, and many people on your planet go, karma, they got what they deserved. That is not the meaning of karma at all in its original form. The Sanskrit word karma simply means action. That's literally what the word means, action. And as we have said many times, actions are the language of physical reality. So this is understood in ancient times as the idea of the actions you take to rebalance yourself if you find that you have taken some action that brings you out of balance. So it's not an issue of punishment. It's not an issue of retribution or comeuppance or deservability in that sense. Yes, your actions have consequences. Of course they do. What you put out is what you get back. That's the law. But the idea is that karma is really just a guiding mechanism, a mechanism to allow you to be more aware of when you are out of alignment with your true vibration, so that you can take whatever actions are required, whatever karma is necessary for you to bring yourself back into alignment with your core true frequency, your core vibration. So it's important now, in this day and age of clarification, of definitions, to let go of the idea that karma has anything at all to do with retribution or punishment, and allow yourself to begin to take and use it in a more conscious and responsible way to constantly guide yourself in the recognition and the discernment that you may have created a situation or a circumstance within yourself by some actions that may have moved you out of alignment with your integrity, with who you really prefer to be, and use that awareness to take the actions necessary to bring yourself back into alignment. That is why we have often said that as soon as you recognize you're out of alignment and choose to bring yourself back into alignment, choose to explore yourself and let go of those things that have brought you out of alignment and allow yourself to go back into alignment, you have erased your karma. Again, not meaning the idea of punishment, but the idea of the willingness to take the actions necessary to right yourself, to guide yourself, to course correct yourself through life, and bring yourself back into alignment. Now, this is why what we have just described is the answer to when people ask, well, this person, no names shall be given, does things that are very much out of alignment, very negative, and yet they never seem to really reap any consequence of this.
They don't seem to be subject to the so-called law of karma. That's, again, because karma is not a punishment. The idea may sometimes be that a person's belief systems that are negatively oriented may allow them to experience some negative things in turn, but that's because they're holding on to the negative beliefs that caused them to go out of alignment to begin with, and are still holding on to them, which can attract more negativity as a downward spiral into their lives. However, there are people on your planet, you generally label them as either sociopathic or psychopathic, that simply do not have the awareness within themselves because they've never been taught to, or simply have some particular physical reason for disconnecting from that aspect of their consciousness, so that they do not have the correcting mechanism. They do not know how to take the actions that would bring them back into alignment, because the belief system that they have developed within themselves allows them to believe they are not doing anything that is out of alignment, and therefore they see no reason to activate the karmic actions that would bring them back into alignment, because they don't believe they're out of alignment. So again, this is why some people may continue to do very negative things and never seem in any way, shape, or form to be held responsible for these things. Nothing bad ever seems to happen to them, as people on your planet say. This compartmentalization of beliefs and the belief that you're not doing anything negative because of the lack of connection to the karmic actions necessary to bring you back into alignment is the reason why this can occur. So it's all about allowing people to start understanding, reconnecting, and letting go of the idea that karma has anything at all to do with blame or punishment, and it's simply a device that allows you to take the actions necessary to be who you truly are, to recognize your core vibration, and to bring yourself back into alignment with it. This allows you to begin to really take full responsibility for the things that you create and perceive in your physical reality experience. And as we have said, responsibility is nothing more than the ability to respond. So karma, being defined as action, is the heightened ability to respond to misalignment by taking the actions necessary to bring yourself back into alignment. That's all karma is, but it is a very powerful tool if used in that way, in its original intention. So allow yourselves to practice letting go of any definition of karma that has anything at all to do with the idea of comeuppance or retribution or revenge, and allow yourself to bring it closer to home as a device that is actively participating in the creation of your life and your reality experience, and can be used every day in the most positive ways to make sure that you are course correcting and allowing yourself to move forward in the most aligned way to your true core being. Now, we thank you for allowing us to provide you with a more modern and updated, and yet at the same time ancient definition, the original definition of karma. And in return for the gift you are giving us in interacting with all of you, I ask you now, in what ways may we be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and dialogues if you wish.
We understood that it was going to be extremely different, but we could not necessarily give you details without causing a panic.
I see. But since we're co-creators of our reality, like you've been saying for the past couple of decades, we must have on some level created this.
Yes, of course.
But no one expected it coming.
Well, actually, that's not true.
Okay.
There were many on your planet that saw this coming from a long way away, because they understand the mechanism that is working at hand here in a variety of levels. As we have said, the idea is multifold, but one of the more important ones is that the destruction of the ecological systems on your planet have given the idea of viruses that inhabit those systems the ability to go beyond their borders. Therefore, this is, in some sense, the consequence of the destruction of the natural ecological systems of your planet, and therefore a rebalancing is necessary. But nevertheless, you can still use this in a positive way, and you have begun to do so through the auspices of isolation and sequestering yourself and social distancing. It gives you an opportunity to go into a kind of monastic experience where you can take the time to examine and evaluate your belief systems and truly let go of the ones that don't serve you, because this pivotal moment we have labeled the eye of the needle. And without letting go of those fear-based beliefs, it will not be easy for you to pass through that very narrow eye of the needle as the self you really need to be on the other side to experience more acceleration in a positive direction. So this is all about taking the time and taking advantage of what you have created, whether it was created from negativity or positivity, to make sure that you are letting go of the self you no longer need to be, that no longer serves you, and streamline yourself down to the very core and essential self that will then be capable of more effortlessly passing through this passageway we have called the eye of the needle.
When you say you, you're talking to the individual and the collective mind.
I am.
And so are the RET friends just watching us and see if we can make this passage through the eye, or is there an assistance happening?
There is always an assistance, although some are also watching.
So will this eye passage through the eye of the needle be an actual acceleration to first contact?
Depends on what you do with it. Again, how you go through the eye will determine whether the idea of contact accelerates for some or decelerates for some. It depends on what you do with this moment. This is why this moment, as we have said, is pivotal and so absolutely crucial.
Are there timelines of Earth where this has not happened?
Absolutely.
But, and there's no way to wake up tomorrow and say we can be part of that timeline, is there?
There is always a way, but what are the probabilities? Since you have chosen to go through this experience, you will find again that while it may be possible, the probability may be more likely that you will go through the process with everyone else in your own way. But again, it matters not, because the way you choose to go through it will determine what you experience on the other side of the passage.
Right. So you're with us in this timeline, but are there timelines where you are also channeling to another Earth?
Yes, of course. And there are timelines where we're not channeling to Earth at all.
But the timelines you're channeling to Earth, is that through one conscious being we call Bashar, or you call Bashar, or are there aspects of you that are different in different timelines?
Some of them will recognize what you recognize as the idea of Bashar. Some of them will recognize something different as may be appropriate for their reality and their understanding.
But I'm asking you, are you aware of your channelings in those other timeline realities?
When I need to be, yes. I don't always need to be.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to get a sense of the consciousness that you are, multidimensional, multifaceted, but present in the moment you're in. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but the moment we are in may sometimes be multidimensionally experienced.
Mm-hmm. Another question about a slightly different subject, and it's something I've been thinking about, is Einstein in physics, where they say that the speed, when you reach the speed of light,
yes,
there's no time.
Yes,
so
yes.
If light is coming from, let's say, 5 light years away, does that mean when it reaches here, we're actually seeing light that has arrived that's not 5 years from the past?
No, you are still seeing the idea of the light that existed 5 years ago when it left its origin point. You are mixing two different concepts up.
Okay.
Traveling, moving through space, time, is what creates what your scientists refer to as time dilation. Let me put it in a very simplified form. You have a 100% space-time. If you are not moving very much in space, then most of that 100% is experienced as time. But if you're moving through more space, then less of that 100% experience is experienced as time. You can only have the 100%. So if you're moving through space at 50% of the capacity, then you only experience 50% of the time. And if you are moving at 99% of the capacity of space, you only experience 1% of the time. You can't experience more than 100% total of space or time. So they have to take turns sharing that amount of 100% depending upon how much space you're occupying or how much time you're occupying. Do you understand?
I do. I get that. And that clears it up. Now, as we raise our molecular cellular vibration, we are actually moving closer to the speed of light.
In some senses, although the vibration, again, that you're referring to is something slightly different than what we're referring to as the speed of light in your physical reality. It's a different vector.
Mm-hmm. What is the vibration of cellular mass as it starts to ascend in frequency in the body and lift the body? Can you tell us?
You mean when it crosses the threshold from physical to non-physical reality?
Or back and forth. Yes, yes, yes.
333,000 cycles per second is the threshold barrier and border between physical and non-physical reality. But that 333,000 cycles per second is a measurement of a certain kind of vibrational frequency that your scientists don't even know about yet.
But we can get there by the mechanisms or the untapped software in our minds or brains.
You get there by allowing yourself to align with the formula that we have always given all of you. That's why we have distilled the formula for you, because it is a description of the structure of existence and how it operates in your physical reality. So by acting on your passion every moment that you can to the best of your ability with no insistence or assumption of the outcome and remaining in a positive vibrational state no matter what manifests, you are literally in alignment with an accelerated energy that will constantly allow you to continue to expand. That's why we give you the formula. It is literally an instruction manual, no different than any instruction manual you would be given to learn to operate a piece of machinery. This is literally a description of the nature and structure of existence encapsulated and distilled down into a simple 4-step formula.
Right. I just want to ask if you're seeing a probable future for us, how long do you think it will be for this crisis will last? And
you are about halfway through. That's why we are talking about the eye of the needle at this time. You have experienced this in a concentrated form for about 3 to 3.5 months. It will continue roughly for another 3 to 3.5 months. But again, there may be other things that will happen beyond that. There may even be reoccurrences of this for some individuals. But in general, the passage you are going through now has been going on for about 1/4 of your year and will continue for about another 1/4 of your year. And then you will see what it is that you chose to be on the other side, and that will take you forward, depending upon how much you were capable of stripping away of those things that are no longer relevant for the you prefer to be.
And as far as contact with the extraterrestrial beings, are they just waiting or are they assisting somehow?
You are always being given assistance. But again, we all know that the choices is in your hands. Therefore, we are seeing what it is you choose, but we are not waiting. We always give all the assistance we can possibly give. We cannot give you any more assistance than you're already being given. So no one needs to ask for more assistance. You need to pay attention to the assistance you're already getting.
Can you describe the assistance that we're getting in case we're not paying attention to it?
Some of the assistance is in the idea of the adjustment of certain frequencies of energy that exist in the vortices around your planet to make it more smooth, shall we say, for you to go through transformation so it's not so bumpy, I believe you would call it. So we are attempting to smooth out the vibrational wavelengths of many of the collective vortices on your planet to make the ride a little bit more smooth. On the other hand, I have just given you an example of assistance by telling you, once again, about the formula.
Right, right. Is there anything else that we could do? Do you have any recommendations for supplements or exercises or breathing types.
What you are talking about are all the things we have always labeled as permission slips, and we believe you understand that concept. So whatever it is you are attracted to because your belief system at that moment of the attraction says this will work for you.
Right. I do have to say that the psychic space or the dream time realities seem to me be more vivid now. There seems
Yes.
static.
That's part of the transformation, is to break down the walls of solidity of the concept of physical reality and realize that you are living a dream. Therefore, it will become a little bit more illusionary.
So I would say to looking at being awake in the dream, being as lucid as we can is part of this transition you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And is there certain things we could look for in that dream world to as an assistant, a guide?
Follow the formula. Synchronicity is the organizing principle that will guide you.
What's happening on your world as you observe our reality? Is there sort of a similar parallel, a crisis or turning point in the Ascension?
There are always turning points and challenges, but there are no crises. We do not experience things in a fear-based way.
So we wouldn't say this is a crisis either, in a sense, then.
It depends on how you use it. You can recognize that certain things may have contributed to this particular event from a negative point of view. And if you wish to say, well, then that causes a crisis, you can. But at the same time, everything can be used to serve double duty. So it depends on how you use it. We wouldn't necessarily suggest that you label it a crisis if you want to use it in a positive way.
Is there though something going on, I'm saying, paralleling all existence at this point, because we are going through the eye and the needle? Are other civilizations doing similar things?
Yes, some in parallel realities, some in their own realities that have nothing at all to do with you in terms of how it looks. But many civilizations go through their own eye of the needle in a variety of ways, and some do not have that experience. It just depends on the civilization and the theme they are exploring.
And what about your civilization? Can you describe one of your eye of the needle moments?
One of our eye of the needle moments in what you would call our past history would be the 3-day awakening that happened to us when Shakana existed on our planet and allowed us to connect telepathically within that 3-day period, which changed everything in our world.
Is a similar thing possible here?
It is possible, but not probable. Because of the nature of the cycles of the earth, you will go through a particular process and do not in any way, shape, or form deny the validity of that process. You can always render down the need for more processes by taking the threshold of believability test that we have shared with all of you in the past to make sure that you are streamlining yourself down just to the essential processes you need, but you will never eliminate them because process is the point of experiencing physical reality, and some process is necessary for you to rediscover yourself from a new point of view. So don't eliminate all processes, but you can streamline them down to just those essential ones. And when you have done so, then embrace them, because it is those processes that will teach you everything you need to know about who you truly are and how to live in your reality in a much more joyful, creative way.
Right. I do get the sense when you talk about that 3-day period of a vibrational possibility that some people could access.
Some may, but again, don't be desperate about it. Just render down the processes to the least amount that you need and embrace the ones that remain, for they will serve you.
But just to wrap up, our vibration is shifting at this moment due to this time.
For those that are using it in a certain way, the vibration is accelerating upward. For those that are not, the vibration may remain the same or decelerate downward. You cannot speak of all of you, even though all of you may seem to be going through this, as having the same agenda or coming out the other side in the same way. So you have to be specific on a case-by-case basis. You cannot generalize this. Different people will use this in different ways for their own ends.
But it sounds like you're talking about a separation point where those who use it towards their benefit and those who don't will have a more of a split of consciousness here.
Have you never heard us talk about the fact that this is the time of the splitting of the parallel realities into different versions of Earth that is becoming much more crystallized and physicalized?
Yes.
Well, there you go. That's the splitting prism. That's what you're talking about. Your reality is literally cracking into literally different versions of parallel Earths so that you can make a decision. Remember, there are glass walls between all these versions, and just because you can see a version that you're not vibrationally compatible with doesn't mean it has the ability to reach you through the glass wall. So continue with the actions and the behaviors that are more representative of the reality that you prefer, and that's the one you'll be living in regardless of whether or not you can still observe other realities that are not the ones you're in.
Thank you, Bashar, for your time and your assistance.
Again, it is our passion and our pleasure. Thank you for the co-creation of the interaction, and good day.
Circumstances and the reason for why the message is being delivered the way it is being delivered. It has nothing to do with whether the spirit is a novice at it or not.
And are we able to affect other people's vibration? For example, if a loved one is struggling with negative self-worth, can we manifest for them?
No. You can send off a vibration that can encourage them and invite them to more readily match the frequency that you're giving off, at which point they will create for themselves the same vibration in their reality. That is what you can do for them, is give them the option by immersing them in the vibration you believe would be of help to them. It's still always up to them to more closely match that frequency in order to experience any kind of an effect. You cannot manifest for them. You can only encourage them to manifest for themselves by matching the frequency that you are gifting to them.
And you have said that physical reality is like a mirror. What's the difference between looking into a mirror in our homes, like, our bathroom mirror, and seeing our face in it, than looking into the mirror of physical reality, like looking into our yard?
Again, the idea is that the reflection from physical reality is not a one-to-one reflection. The idea is that it gives you insight into the different meanings that the symbol being reflected to you in physical reality may hold for you. It may give you opportunities to interact with other beings through the manifestations you are creating to represent them, the so-called avatars you are creating to represent them, as being a reflection of why they look the way they do to you, because it is your creation, even though they exist on their own. So the idea of the physical mirror is that you get to engage with yourself more directly on a one-to-one basis. But the idea of physical reality is that you get to be reflected by all the symbols and all the meanings that you are putting out into reality and are being reflected back to you in the way that serves you as reflections that put you in touch with why you are giving off what you are giving off and attracting what you are attracting as a reflection, to put you in touch with the themes that you're exploring and the ability to grow and change by interacting with those different angles, those different perspectives, those different representations of those themes.
Very interesting. This person is talking about parallel realities and wanting to know if they coexist in the same place at the same time.
Of course, that's what makes them parallel realities. Everything exists here and now. Everything. There is nothing that doesn't exist here and now. Look at it this way. Even the concepts of space and time are evidence of parallel realities. Because if you understand that everything is one thing, space being reduced to its simplest form is a dimensionless point. Time being reduced to its simplest form is a timeless moment. Being that everything exists in a timeless moment and a dimensionless point, then everything you consider to be a different thing, even a different moment, even a different location, has to be a different perspective of the same here-now space-time. And therefore you create this illusion of dimensional space, this illusion of time spreading out and change. So even the existence of your experience of space and time are evidence of the existence of parallel realities, which all coincide exactly in the same timeless moment and dimensionless point.
Thank you. You mentioned we will always get what we need, but not what we want. But you also said we can shift to the reality we prefer. Is there any difference between what we prefer and what we want?
It can be. Preference is an idea of a state, a general state of being, a frequency that is more in alignment with who you truly are, your core vibration. Wants can be wildly different. They can be the product of negative ego. They can be the product of fear. So the idea is that preference is more a reference to the idea of the general state of being in which you would receive automatically and synchronistically what it is that you truly need, which would allow you to experience a life full of joy. Whereas a want, though sometimes can coincide with the idea of a need or a preference, doesn't always do so because of the compartmentalization of your psyche structure, your ego structure, that can allow you to have a want that isn't necessarily what you need and can be wildly out of alignment with what you really actually vibrationally prefer to experience in life.
And since we are the creator, is it true that the story of the writer exists in some other reality?
This is very funny to us, this question, because to us there is no difference between the creator and the writer. The creator is the writer. The writer is the creator. A difference is being made here where there really is no difference.
Okay. Let's see. This one is, this person is asking, they sometimes question whether the knowing sense of creating distance from a person is based on a belief rooted in fear. This is due to a belief that they should live in harmony with everyone. Understanding there are no shoulds, how can I resolve my decision to distance myself physically from someone when synchronicity seems to bring us back together again? Is this just a reflection giving me the opportunity to be sure that the decision I am making is the right one for me?
It could be. You have to be honest within your own self-investigation to know if that's exactly what's happening. But in terms of the idea of harmony, remember that love, unconditional love, is harmony. And sometimes demonstrating, as we have often said, the consequence of someone's choice to them by distancing yourself physically from them in a relationship can actually be the most loving thing to do, because you're showing them the consequence of the choices that they're making, relevant to the idea of the choices that you're making. So yes, you have to pay attention to whether you're synchronistically being brought back into the relationship for a variety of reasons that you're not paying attention to within yourself that need looking at, or whether you are there to assist the other person to make the changes they need to make, or whether you are refusing to let go of the idea, and where walking away would actually be not only to your benefit, but to their benefit by demonstrating to them the consequences of the choices they are making, thus giving them the loving opportunity to change, not that they have to, but at least giving them the option. So in your own honest self-investigation, you have to decide which of these things may be happening at any given moment, and it actually could be a number of different things, or a combination of these different things at different times. So you have to be very honest about why what's happening is happening, and what you may be getting out of it, and what you may be being of service in giving to them by being either in proximity or not in proximity physically to them. Take it a case at a time, a moment at a time.
This person is saying that they've been doing transformative shifting exercise that you created for the precisely 80 days nonstop. One of the biggest challenges they're finding is that several negative beliefs about their self-value and worthiness is coming up, and they don't know how to fully love themselves under the circumstances. Is there
All right.
any hint?
Let's go back to the motivational mechanism. This is the purest form of understanding why you choose to do what you choose to do, why you choose to believe what you choose to believe, why you hold on to things the way you hold on to them. Experiencing the idea of feeling unworthy of self-love means that you have attached to the motivational mechanism a belief that says loving yourself unconditionally carries with it somehow effects that you don't prefer, that you believe are more negative than what you're experiencing by continuing to experience a lack of self-love. So you have to really dig deep in your honest self-investigation on your motivational mechanism as why you would hold on to something that says you're not enjoying it, you're not enjoying not loving yourself, and yet you consistently keep doing so. So you have to have a belief that says you're getting something out of continuing that path rather than letting go and going in the alternate way. You have to find out what you believe would be so bad about loving yourself that you refuse to do it. So you have to examine your definitions, what you've been taught in life, what you've been brought up with, and really reach that kernel, that core belief that says, refuse to love yourself because the alternative is worse. You have to find out why you would believe the alternative, that loving yourself would be worse than not loving yourself. Is not loving yourself safer? Less alienating to people? Making you more like everyone else so you don't have to feel too different?